Just waiting for the YouTube machine to warm up a little bit. Just waiting. A 3 and a 2. Oh, wait, no. This is the way this works. A 3 and a 2. From the studio, in the bonus room above the garage on the north side of Cary, at the foot of Mount Belzoni, this is the Triangle Talk Show. And it is episode 56. It is an activist episode. I don't think I fixed my title. We'll find out in just a moment. April 5th, 2019. Release the report. Raleigh. Rapid response. I love the titles with a lot of alliteration. All R's. Got all R's in there, including a couple words I couldn't fit into the actual title. Let's see, did I do it? Oh, yeah, I did. Correctly. If you're watching the video. I'm Gary Pierce, the antique activist wannabe, because it's an activist episode. And you probably know something about the Mueller Report, right? Special counsel Robert Mueller and his team of 13 angry Democrats have been investigating a potential conspiracy between the Trump administration and Russia to influence the 2016 presidential election. That's what's been in all the news. Deputy Attorney General Rob Rosenstein appointed Mueller after Trump fired FBI director. I'm giving you the background here, okay? To show I know what I'm talking about, more or less. So Deputy Attorney General Rob Rosenstein appointed Mueller after Trump fired FBI Director Jim Comey because the FBI was looking into how Trump, I'm missing a few words here. There we go. There's all my words. Because the FBI was, let me try this again. Deputy Attorney General Rob Rosenstein appointed Mueller after Trump fired FBI Director Jim Comey because the FBI was looking into that Russia conspiracy that Trump admitted to in an interview with NBC News anchor Lester Holt. The investigation branched out into related issues from there. It ended up with indictments and guilty pleas. Some of them from several Trump campaign officials and business associates, like Paul Manafort and Michael Cohen. We have all been eagerly anticipating the Mueller report. I guess, kind of expecting it to have a lot of dirt on Trump himself. Maybe enough to lead to his impeachment. Maybe. We've all been hoping. And then the report was released last week and, surprise, we didn't get to see it. We didn't. The media didn't. And mostly, Congress didn't. And by Congress, I mean the House Judiciary Committee that is now in the hands of the Democrats, thanks to that blue wave election from last November. So that's thanks to you, even though you may not have connected all the dots that led from the election to the investigations that various House committees are launching now, but that is what's happening. So, okay, they didn't get the report. Instead, we get a 4-page summary from Attorney General William Barr, the Attorney General who was just installed this year after he applied for the job by publishing a memo that declared that Trump's firing of Comey was not obstruction of justice and that the Mueller investigation was fatally conceived. So now he's in charge of all of that. And, of course, he backtracked on it some in his confirmation hearing. He promised that he'd be fair and impartial and all the usual stuff and that he would release the report. Yeah, most of it. So far, all we have is promises. And promises of lots of redactions. And the House Judiciary Committee is getting ready to subpoena the report. Okay, that's the news roundup. And now, the rest of the story. I can't do a Paul Harvey. Yesterday, Thursday, there were rallies in a few hundred cities around the country demanding that the report would be released. And there was one right here in Raleigh. And that's what this show is about, in a minute or two, I'm going to shut up and show you the whole rally from beginning to end. But first, well, I was thinking, what is it these rallies do? Why do we have them? And then I was watching Rachel Maddow this morning. And I'm usually watching some more mindless entertainment in the evening. You know, her show is on at 9 o'clock in the evening. I'm usually watching something on, Netflix and chill. I don't want to watch heavy political stuff in the evening. So I have YouTube TV record the Maddow show for me as my morning show that I watch the next day while I'm feeding cats and eating breakfast. But last night, I wasn't watching the mindless entertainment. Last night, I was busy editing the video of the rally that you'll be seeing in a minute. And when I say editing, I mean just getting it ready in the system. It's not going to be edited. You'll see the whole thing, only slightly edited. Okay, so I was watching Rachel Maddow, and that's Mad-O, like shadow, not Mad-Ow, like everybody else says, like mad cow. I was watching Rachel Maddow this morning, and she led off with some video of a bunch of the Release the Report rallies across the country. So cool. And it answered the question. So let me see if I can not get a YouTube takedown. Please, we're friends of the show, Rachel. No takedown on this, all right? And answer the question. Play.
You paid for it. You deserve it. The full Mueller report. Release the full Mueller report.
Senator Richard Blumenthal speaking in Washington today at one of the several hundred protests.
So we do it because they combine together to attract attention. It takes a lot to get the public's attention, and this got it.
It was completed by Robert Mueller and handed in to the office of Trump's newly appointed Attorney General, and it hasn't been seen since. There were protests today in Washington, D.C. There were protests in New York City, good-sized protests in New York City. There were protests in Chicago and Philadelphia and Raleigh, North Carolina, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. Protests from Denver to Boston.
All right, Raleigh, North Carolina. We got our shout out on Maddow, and the little video that they had that was actually from a Twitter feed. It's by Ken Warner, and let me play a bit of that. Can we make your sound go, Ken? So this is from Ken Warner's Twitter feed. Good job, Ken. You got on Maddow with the protest folks walking around the Capitol, which is a place I didn't get to. So I'm glad we've got Ken's. Okay, so it takes a lot to get the public's attention, and combine all this stuff together, and this got it. Well, it didn't get it in the News and Observer. They're busy covering the Republican bribery scandals. I can't talk today. They're busy covering the Republican bribery scandal with Robin Hayes and now maybe Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest. So stay tuned for that. It's not on the local TV stations. They weren't there at all. I thought maybe one of them would be streaming it live, but nope, I had it all to myself. Plus the Facebook and Twitter live streams that you just saw. But they did give Maddow's attention. And then, got a little shout out for us right here in Raleigh. So again, that's why we do the rallies, to alert the media. That's one reason anyway. I guess it's also to get you fired up, those of you that actually attend. And so now I'm going to play the entire rally from last night. Actually, I'm going to make a little adjustment to my my Wirecast settings to make this work a little bit better. And a little background noise in, I'm afraid. It's going to make the playback work a little bit better. Wow. Real-time adjustments of Wirecast while I'm doing the show. Okay, so I'm going to play the whole thing from last night. If you watch, you're going to hear from several speakers, including some state senators who don't get a lot of airtime on the news. It is not going to be nuanced. It's not going to be detailed political discussion. It's a rally, cheerleading. And I'm not really expecting very many of you to watch the whole thing. I recommend liberal use of the fast forward button. If you're watching on YouTube on a computer, the right-hand arrow, move you 5 seconds a piece, fast, bip, 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 and just kind of move through it to get the flavor. If you are a friend or a part of the family of someone who was there and they're making you watch the whole thing, well, I apologize. It's not that it's not worth watching, or it's not that it's not worth going in person for that matter, because it is. But, we're busy. So just put this on in the background, and here we go. So this is them getting started. Push the go button. They're getting started. I can't play the sound from in here because they had some music going, and I'll get a takedown on the music. So you'll get sound coming up in just a minute. They had a truck rolling by in the background. I think we'll hear a little bit of sound about getting announced on that truck here in a second. They're very proud of the sign that they have on this truck that's going by. Come on, get to the truck. I left more of this in than I needed to.
There it is.
Yep, there's the truck. Okay. You'll see that in the background many, many, many more times. Some of the folks that are putting on the rally kind of gathering behind the stage and getting ready. This was at a place they call Independence Mall, which is right across from the General Assembly building. It's where the Museum of History and Natural History is. Some of the signs that people were getting ready. Again, the music's playing in the background, and I can't play that or I'll get a takedown for the music. People taking selfies of their signs, passing out the usual.
Okay, this is really fancy.
Looks like we're ready to go.
This is very fancy.
Okay, I'm going to go away for a bit, and let's watch the rally. Again, liberal fast forward button use. But listen to this for a bit.
I'd like to thank the police. I'd like to thank all the people, the sound people, Chris. I'd like to thank Faisal, who arranged for the truck to be driving around. I really hope that you'll see the truck. It's spectacular. And you look spectacular. Please come closer, even though we have a microphone. Is this too loud? Okay, I want to introduce Mike and Randa, who are just going to open us with just a little bit of music.
Okay, thanks, babe. Because I'm leaving that there. Yeah, okay. Here we go.
Woke up this morning. I woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, oh, stayed on freedom. I woke up this morning with my mind, yeah, stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Freedom and justice. Woke up this morning with my mind stayed on freedom and justice. I woke up this morning with my mind, oh, stayed on the freedom and justice. Woke up this morning with my mind, yes I did. Stayed on justice and freedom, oh yeah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm marching and singing. I'm marching and singing with my mind. Stayed on freedom. I'm marching and singing with my mind. Stayed on freedom. Yeah, I'm marching and singing with my mind. Stayed on freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Woke up this morning with my mind. Oh yes.
I'll turn on my mic if I'm going to talk. I guess I will apologize for not knowing who these guys are. I I didn't find any place that told me what their names were. That fellow with the guitar, I've seen him at a lot of the protests. And I guess I've seen them both. They do a lot of entertaining at the protests. So, oh, wow, good camera work there, Gary. Not sure what my problem is there. Oh, I guess I'm moving the camera a little bit.
We've got another one. We've got one more here, written by Willie Nelson, but then Michael put together a few little.
So his name is Michael. I got that.
Willie would have written had he thought of them. Okay.
And once again, I'm showing you the whole thing.
Is Vote 'em Out.
If you were there, this is the way you would experience the rally. So the whole thing.
Don't like who's in there, vote 'em out.
I also had to go chase some of the folks who were holding up signs in front of my camera. You won't see that very much more. I appointed some audience members as the sign police to move the signs out of the way.
Here we go! Vote 'em out, vote 'em out, vote 'em out. Yeah, and when they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout. Yes,
Vote 'em
we
out.
will. We'll bring some new ones in, and they'll start the show again. And if you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. Now listen, 2020 never mattered.
Okay, so, you know, good old-fashioned folk song rally stuff. I guess one thing you'll notice when I pan across the audience, it's a lot of old people. Not a lot of real young people. So I don't know. I don't know about the old Woody Guthrie folk song protests.
And when they're gone, we'll sing and dance and shout.
I mean, I like it.
Yeah, we'll bring some new ones in.
I think we need some rap, though, or something the young people would like better.
If you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. And if it's about your clowns, you're voting in. Oh, yeah. Election day is coming round again.
I mean, they put some effort into this, though. These are all custom lyrics for these songs.
We'll change it anyhow. Yeah. And if you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. Vote 'em out. Vote 'em out. Vote 'em out. Now vote 'em out.
Good old protest.
And let's dance and shout. Oh yeah. And if they don't, yeah. You don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. One more time. And if you don't like who's in there, vote 'em out. Oh yeah.
Stay here. So Faisal is the boss, and he said he wants one more song. Randa and Mike sing every single week in front of Senator Tillis's office, and we've come up with this little song, which is one of our favorites.
See, right?
Okay, you're blasting people. Don't be so close to the microphone.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
Scared me out for that.
Yeah. Okay.
Can a woman ever be too loud? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
He doesn't need a microphone.
Thanks, Chris.
What's
Okay.
going on?
All right. Here we go. This is to the tune of Tom Dooley. Hang down your head, Tom Tillis. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Tillis. You're making democracy die. Sometime in the great tomorrow.
So the Tom Tillis reference, a lot of these folks, and I guess this whole rally is put together in part by the Tuesdays with Tillis folks. Okay, so there's our pan through the audience. See any young kids there? Yeah, me neither. So the Tuesdays with Tillis group is
There's something called the Ten Commandments.
way behind this effort, along with Common Cause and you know some of other protest groups or community organizations. So this this song for Tom Tillis specifically.
while we met you in the NC Senate. Oh, thought you looked afraid. Oh no! Turns we were right on target. The Constitution you betrayed. Yes, you have. Hang down your head, Tom Tillis. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Tillis. You're making democracy die.
Let's see it. Does he want one more? Let's just see what he does.
You got it right there. Let's
One
see
more. One more. Okay, here we go.
Michael wrote the new words in this song, and
reimagine, okay?
here and there you'll pick up the lyrics.
Imagine no obstruction. It's really hard to try. The full report must be open. No more secrets, no more lies. Imagine all the people standing up today. Imagine full disclosure. I wonder if our can do what's right and be transparent. That's what we demand. Imagine all the people living life in peace. They say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possession. I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A brother sisterhood of man. Well, well, well. Imagine all the people sharing all the world. They say I'm a dreamer. We're all dreamers.
Cheering because that truck with the sign on it went by again. But it goes by every couple of minutes. They were just going round and round the block. And I guess they weren't allowed to park it right in front of the Raleigh. So I had to keep driving around. But then it got seen by more people by driving round and round.
See, that's why we show up every Tuesday. So this is a rapid response. This is the second rapid response around demanding that the Mueller report be protected and that it be released. The first one was in November. We had 1 day's notice. We had 1,000 people. And people have been signing up for this rapid response for almost, well, I guess more than 2 years. A long time. Seems like forever. And we had 3,108 people signed up for tonight. I don't know how many people will come, but what I know is that 90% of the American people want this report released. And we are here because we believe in the rule of law, and we have a president who doesn't.
My count of the audience was a couple of hundred, nowhere near 3,000. A couple of hundred were there. You'll see them all once again when I pan back into the audience.
I would like to invoke the people who first lived on this land before the people came over and took the land. I would like to invoke the slaves who built this country, who built the economy of this country. And I would like to invoke all of the freedom fighters the freedom fighters that have been with us as human beings for thousands of years and hundreds of years. And I want to call upon those ancestors and those freedom fighters. Even though we don't have 3,000 people right now, there are thousands of people who are a cloud of witnesses with us. And there are those 90% of Americans. We are standing for all of those people. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming. I'd like to invite to the stage Faisal Khan, absolutely incredible activist, founder of the North Carolina Peace Center, architect of the truck that has been driving around Raleigh all day, architect of this event. Thank you so much, Faisal.
Thank you, Karen, for your kind remarks. It's an honor to be here. Hello, Raleigh! I didn't hear that. I cannot hear you, Raleigh. I say, hello, Raleigh! Are we ready to stand up for our democracy? Are we ready to tell William Barr and the Justice Department to release the entire Mueller Report? I cannot hear you! You need to be loud enough to make sure Tom Tillis and Richard Barr can hear you loud and clear! Are we ready to stand up for the truth? Are we ready to demand the entire Mueller Report that is made to public? All right, looks like we are ready, Raleigh, we are ready. But before I start, I'd like to take a moment to recognize an individual that has and still does a profound impact in our country for justice, for equality, for peace and love and compassion. I'd like to take a moment to recognize this gentleman. Today, it'll be 51 years when Dr. King was assassinated. He may have left us, but his spirit is never, ever going to leave us. So I'd like to dedicate this speech to Martin Luther King Jr. and all the people around him that tirelessly stood up against the forces of darkness, fought for equality, for justice, who marched, who knocked on the doors, who showed what love and compassion is. So I'd like to dedicate this speech for him. Earlier today, Carrie Kubek, the spokeswoman for the Justice Department, said, and I quote, "Given the extraordinary public interest in the Mueller Report, the Attorney General decided to the report's bottom line findings and his conclusions immediately, without attempting to summarize the report, with the understanding that the report itself would be released after the redaction process." No, not acceptable. We are holding this rally and march here in Raleigh to Asheville and all across the country. There are over 220 rallies taking place right now.
315!
315, thank you very much. Precisely in response to that we, the people, and the Congress are not interested in redacted version. That's right. We're not interested in bits and pieces. Yeah. We're not interested in any version. We're not interested in Barr version, and we're not interested definitely in Trump's version. We are interested the entire Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report made to Congress and by extension to the American people. We want Mr. Barr to release the entire report. And for us, it's no surprise that he is not releasing the report because he already said that during his hearing. At his confirmation hearing for the post of Attorney General, Mr. Barr said, and I quote, "Under the current regulations, the Special Counsel report is confidential. The report that goes public would be reported by Attorney General." And you know what's happening now? It's gone by him, but it's not coming to us. The Attorney General William Barr said in his letter that Special Counsel Robert Mueller had concluded that there was no collusion between President Trump and Russian government during 2016 elections. He also said, while Mueller did not arrive at the determination about whether the President obstructed justice, my question is, if there's no obstruction of justice, if there's no collusion, and if the President is tweeting that he's exonerated, then why not release the report? Why not make it to the public? Why don't we get to see the truth in its entirety? Yesterday, the reports by the New York Times and Washington Post said some Mueller's investigators believe that the results of the special counsel investigations were more damaging to Mr. Trump than William Barr's letter revealed. And that's why it is important and necessary that the Congress and the American people see the report and know the complete truth. During the 22 months of Mueller investigation, 37 people have been indicted. That also includes some of Trump's close aides during his campaign and his personal attorney. So this is no witch hunt. This is not a hoax, folks. This is serious and real investigation in relation to the 2016 election, influenced by Russia, and the corruption charges. Millions of American tax dollars have been spent on this investigation, and Congress and American people still have not seen the Mueller report. American people deserve to see the complete Mueller report and its findings, and we shall not stay silent, we shall not stay quiet until the Mueller report is released to the Congress and to the American people in its entirety. American people deserve to see the complete Mueller report and its findings, and we're not going to sit quiet. We got news for the Justice Department, for Senator Tom Tillis, for Senator Richard Burr, and all the way to the White House, that we still are a democracy. And we're going to continue to fight for our democratic values. We're going to continue to fight for our democratic principles. And we will continue to fight for our Constitution. So, coming to the end here, I demand Senator Tom Tillis and Senator Richard Burr to listen to American people and support in releasing the entire Mueller report and its findings. We've had many polls conducted in this country, and vast majority of Americans are interested and want to see the entire Mueller report. So I urge you all to be strong and not give up. I urge you all to keep using your voice and your tools of political advocacy to demand that the Mueller report is made public. Our democracy has been challenged by draconian policies and by foreign influence and by dark forces of hate and bigotry. But, like Martin Luther King said, only light's going to drive out the darkness. And we are the light. We are the light today, and we are the light for tomorrow. So let's not give up. Let's not give up, folks. Let's keep fighting for this country. I ask you to come together and keep fighting for democratic principles and values, and never, ever give up. God bless you, and I love you.
Some people said, well, maybe we can get a state senator. And I thought, oh, I don't know, they're very busy, they might not be able to come. We have 3 states, North Carolina state senators here. And one of them is going to run against Senator Tillis in 2020. We are so proud to have these people here. And first I want to introduce North Carolina Senator Wiley Nickel from District 16. These people fight for us every day.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Who wants to see the full report? I love these signs. I love these signs. Release the report. Don't bar justice. I just want to say I am fired up and ready to go. Who is fired up here? Fired up. Ready to go. I want to talk about what I am doing over here real quick with Senator Chaudhry particularly. Senator Chaudhry filed this bill 2 years ago, and I was proud to join him on this as a primary sponsor of Senate Bill 617, the TRUMP Act. That stands for Tax Returns Uniformly Made Public. And it says any candidate who wants to run for president in the great state of North Carolina has to release their tax returns, 5 years of tax returns, if you want to be on our ballot. And I want to thank Jay for his leadership on this issue. And if you want to take one small thing away from today that we can do right here in North Carolina is we can support this bill and we can get those tax returns. Does anyone here remember when Donald Trump said he was going to release his tax returns? But he said, but there was an audit, and when that audit finishes, he's going to release those returns. Has anybody seen those returns?
No.
I don't think.
Have to file them? I know.
Don't hold your breath.
Russia, if you're listening, can you find Trump's tax
Listen, he managed to sweep that one under the rugs, but we are not going to let him pull the wool over our eyes on the report by Robert Mueller. And I want to say, I had a big slow burn last night when I started reading the New York Times. And I want to quote from the article I read last night. It said, some of Robert S. Mueller III's investigators have told associates that Attorney General William P. Barr failed to adequately portray the findings of their inquiry and that they were more troubling for President Trump than Mr. Barr indicated. Mueller's team wrote their own summary that we haven't even been able to see. They wrote a summary, and we haven't seen it. So Donald Trump does not want us to see this report, and his hand-picked Attorney General is doing everything he can to prevent that. Do you remember the Clinton report? That was in Barnes & Noble 2 days later. You go to Barnes & Noble and get the full report. And what are we, a few weeks later now? He wrote a 400-page report, and we couldn't even get a full sentence. There was not a full sentence in Barr's 4-page letter. I don't want to call it a summary because I don't know what it was. All I know is there were a few fragments of sentences. There wasn't even a capital letter that I saw in his summary. This was absolutely his Attorney General's best attempt to distract us from the truth of this report and get us to forget about it. Senator Tillis supported releasing Special Counsel Mueller's full report and findings to Congress and the American people. And that promise takes on more weight now that we only have this 4-page report. So I ask Senator Tillis to stand by his words and take action to make sure we get the full report. And, hey, he's our senator, he works for us, we need to tell him what we want, and we want the full report right now. Listen, what you're doing here matters today. The only thing we have on our side is public opinion. If we sit on our hands, we allow Trump's Attorney General to hide the truth from all of us. Jerry Nadler in the House can subpoena this report, but I feel pretty confident that we're going to get a little bit of it, but we're not going to get the whole thing, and they are going to be in court. The only thing we have is our participation here and every day. So, you know, they buried the truth on those tax returns. We have not seen them. They did a good job hiding that from us. We can't let them hide this report from the American people. So in conclusion, if you can hear my voice, if you can hear the sound of my voice today, in anywhere here, on TV, on the radio, on the internet, you have a voice. We need you to stand up and demand that this report is made public. Do everything you can. Get online. Go on social media. Keep coming to these events. Write. Call. Do not sit down and do nothing. We can do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Tell me what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is so much more fun than yelling at the television, which we've been doing for, how long has it been? A long time. I'm very happy to introduce the Raging Grannies because we can hardly do this without them. So you know that these are just some of the Raging Grannies. There are many of us, not just here, but all over the country, who are outstanding today for the truth, and the truth will out. We wrote this song last night. We invite you to sing it with us. The chorus goes like this. Release the report and don't sell us short. We have the right to know, you know. Our future is riding on what you are hiding. So show us the full report. You got it. Robert Mueller, a man in good standing, set out to find out what was true. Now he might not have found real collusion, but just what else did Donald Trump do? Release the report and don't sell us short. We have the right to know, you know. Our future is riding on what you are hiding. So show us the full report. That's pretty good. This report was 2 years in the making, and 4 pages is all that we got. Now the people demand full disclosure, and we don't think that's asking a lot. So release the report and don't sell us short. We have the right to know, you know. Our future is riding on what you are hiding. So show us the full report. Our president's known for his lying, and we can't trust a thing that he said. When he claims that he's exonerated, that must mean he's guilty instead. So release the report and don't sell us short. We have the right to know, you know. Our future is riding on what you are hiding. Come on. So show us a full report. They write these songs, you know, they wrote this song just for tonight. Vicki has written hundreds of songs. So I don't know about you, but when I hear the news from the North Carolina General Assembly, I wonder how these 3 special guests of ours managed to stay there and keep fighting for us. I want to invite North Carolina Senator Jay Chowdhury to come to the stage. He represents District 15, Wake County.
Good evening. Good evening. Let me thank Karen for organizing this, my brother Faisal for putting this important rally together. Let me say a couple of things. One, as Senator Nickel mentioned, we just filed yesterday the Trump Act, the Tax Return Uniformly Made Public Act, and that act that requires every presidential candidate serving in North Carolina to disclose their tax return is important for 3 reasons. One, every presidential candidate in the last 40 years has disclosed their tax returns, and Donald Trump should be no different. Second, we need to know about any presidential candidate's tax returns because we need to know if there are any conflicts of interest. For example, what business did Donald Trump have with Russia? And lastly, And this is the same truth holds for the release of the Mueller report. This is not a Democratic issue or a Republican issue. A majority of North Carolinians support the idea that we need to have our presidential candidates disclose their tax returns. Now, I'm not going to say a whole lot because I think a lot has been already said, but let me say a couple of things. One is for the sake of transparency and for this health of our American democracy, we need to release the Mueller report immediately. And here's why. As I mentioned, this is a bipartisan issue. Recently, the House of Representatives and Congress, by a vote of 420 to 0, 420 to 0, has called for the release of the Mueller report. Second, as Karen mentioned, a poll has found that 80 to 90% of Americans also want this report published in its entirety. That's right. And here's another reason. A 4-page summary letter from Attorney General Barr does not represent the more than 400 pages of the Mueller report. A 4-page summary does not represent more than the 500 witness interviews, the 2,800 subpoenas, the 500 search warrants, the 230 orders for communications, and 13 requests to foreign governments. And as Senator Nickel mentioned, 2 national papers this week, just yesterday, reported that the Mueller investigative team expressed concerns about Attorney General Barr summarizing the Mueller report. One source called the evidence of obstruction of justice, quote, alarming and significant. And so, let me just end by saying this. We have waited for 2 years. We can no longer wait for delays. We can no longer wait for summaries. We can no longer wait for justifications. And we can no longer wait for excuses. Let's release the Mueller report. Let's do it now. Let's do it immediately. Thank you.
I just can't believe it that we have 3 North Carolina state senators. These people are such special people every single day. I don't have a clean way of talking about the way that what they have to put up with. You know what I'm talking about. BS, a lot of BS. But they are in there fighting for us all the time. I see them, some really important things. They block, they fight. I appreciate them so much. You know, we're going to get more of them in 2020. Who will fight for immigrants, who will fight for Medicaid expansion. Everything is connected, the things that we're talking about today, that we have to see that report because we can't, we got to have the truth. We got to have the truth. That's all we want. So as I said, we have a North Carolina state senator who is running for Tom Tillis's seat in the United States Senate. And we need her. We need her. And her name is Erica D. Smith, and she represents the 3rd District. Let's welcome her enthusiastically.
Love the sound of that chant. And we will take that chant to a fact on November 3rd of 2020 when you send me to the White House and to Capitol Hill to fix our government. I am so delighted to be with you here on today. I represent Senate District 3, which are 6 counties in northeastern North Carolina. Prior to the new 2018 legislative districts, I represented 8 counties in northeastern North Carolina. I'm in one of those funny-shaped gerrymandered districts. And so because the majority kept messing up the maps and drawing us in ridiculous districts, I said, okay, I'm going to run for all 100 counties and call on North Carolinian citizens to send me to the United States Senate. I don't know about you, but in reverse 911 on 11/9, November 9th, when I woke up in the year of 2016, one day after the general election, and found out that we were indeed under terrorist attack and that Russia had interfered with our elections and stomped all over our democracy. And I'm even more disappointed 816 days later until today that we know that there was collusion, and there are 386 pages, almost 400 pages of the Mueller report that should be released to us. We should make it public. I stand here today with Common Cause, Democracy NC, Tuesdays with Tillis, who have had empty chair town halls for going on 2 and 3 years to invite our United States senators to come out and talk to the people who sent them to D.C. Well, the last time I checked, the chairs have been empty and our senators have not shown up. And because they would not come to see us, I don't think we should see their names on the ballot in November of 2020. We need a responsive Congress. We need our elected officials to demand that the Mueller report be subpoenaed and made available to the public. We deserve to know the questions and the responses that were asked of President Trump. You know, he has a way of exaggerating and embellishing. To use one of his terms, when he stood outside of Air Force One and said he was totally exonerated, well, that was a bigly, bigly, bigly lie, Mr. Trump. If Attorney General Barr continues to want to hide that report, then our elected officials must take action. We must demand that Congress immediately investigate any and all efforts to obstruct justice and abuse power. What do we know after the investigation of the Mueller report? Can I run the numbers for you? There were 37 indictments. On March 7th, Manafort was sentenced to 47 months or 4 years in prison for his role in this collusion. Former campaign manager and Richard Gates were indicted on October the 27th, 2017 on multiple counts, including conspiracy against the U.S., conspiracy to launder money, false statements, and failure to file reports of foreign bank and financial accounts. We know that Michael Cohen, the president's former personal attorney, pleaded guilty on November the 29th of lying about information and Trump's involvement in a real estate project in Russia while the Iowa caucus was going on. We deserve better as America. We need to demand that for the Mueller report, we need to make it public. A federal grand jury indicted 3 Russian entities and 13 Russian nationals on February the 16th for interfering in the election. The Justice Department has enough information to make it public. I was a former engineer for the Boeing company, and I did space applications, defense and space applications, and I was required to have a top secret government clearance. But for this administration, everybody in his family, whether they are qualified or not, had access to information. And if he can give confidential, classified, and top secret information to his family, then he can give the full Mueller report to the people of these United States of America. On this day, Martin Luther King was assassinated. One of my favorite quotes by Dr. Martin Luther King was the measure of a man is not where he or she stands in moments of comfort, but where they stand in adversity. I'm calling on Senator Tom Tillis to stand on his principles and vote to release the report. I am calling on Congress to subpoena and make the report public. In my Judeo-Christian faith perspective, I will end with this. In the synagogue, the cantor steps out and recites the first passage, and everyone else, the congregation, comes in. In African descendant religions, we call it a call and a response. So when I give the call, I want you to respond with, make it public. Yes. President Trump, if you haven't told lies, then with the Mueller report, we want you to stop hiding it. We want you to make it public. If the president has not done anything wrong, whether he knew about the collusion or quietly participated in it, then we deserve to know. You should make it public. Last but not least, when we understand what is going on, I don't want us to be distracted by the redactions. While we are being distracted, they are planning to take away the Affordable Care Act. And we are not going to allow them to continue to hide these revelations on this side and continue to harass our neighbors from other countries on the border through immigration. We have an emergency in these United States, and we are calling on Congress as it relates to the Mueller report. We, the American people, demand that you make it public. How proud are we that these three people represent the people of North Carolina across the state? Much. And how excited are we that we can have a senator in 2020 representing the people of North Carolina in Washington who talks like that? Anyways, that person. So I just brought these beautiful people up to do one song, and then we're going to hear from two more people.
Okay. All right, here we go. We shall not be moved, just like we just told us. We shall not be moved, and we shall not be moved, just like the tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. No more obstruction, no more obstruction. We shall not be moved. No more obstruction. We shall not be moved, just like the tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be. We're fighting for our children. Fighting for our children. We shall not be moved. We're fighting for our children. We shall not be moved, just like the tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved. Democracy, fighting for democracy. We shall not, democracy, we shall not be moved, just like the tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be. One more, fighting for transparency. For transparency, we shall not be moved. We're fighting for transparency. We shall not be moved, just like the tree that's standing by the water. We shall not be moved.
There are so many tireless activists, including all of you, that are standing up for democracy, for the Constitution. I'm very honored to introduce Bob Phillips, the executive
Director, are you here? I'm sorry.
No.
The Executive Director of Common Cause.
Let me just say thank you for being here this evening, and again, thanks to the folks who've helped organize this. Again, my name is Bob Phillips, and I've been with Common Cause for nearly 20 years. I was joking around with some of our friends that one of the hats I wear is I'm the lobbyist. Go to the building behind me, and this is why I kind of am dressed a little nicer. I haven't changed into my play clothes. But just a reminder, that there's a lot of folks that are privileged and powerful. And you all here represent the one thing we need to remind them, and that is, who has the power? We do! Absolutely. The people have the power. And again, it's terrific that you all are here. As I said, the organization I work with is nonpartisan, but I think I can say this: Donald Trump is not above the law. Am I right? Absolutely. And as has been said so eloquently before me, I'm glad I didn't have to follow Senator Smith. That would be a tough act. The music is hard too, but Senator Smith would be tough. 199 criminal charges, 5 people sentenced to prison. I mean, come on. We the people deserve to see this report. We the people deserve to know what happened in the 2016 election, right? So again, let's remind everyone, I'll ask again, who has the power? We the people. Thank you again.
Here just one at a time so you could see the faces and the signs and feel the spirit. Okay. I just want to say that we're going to have one more speaker, and then we're going to march around the Capitol. If you can't march, or you don't want to march, or marching is too much, that's fine. Stay here because we're going to be back. Okay. So just walk around the Capitol. Dewey, where's Dewey? Yeah. Here. Dewey's leading us. But first, I saved Gerald Givens till last. He is the president of the Raleigh Apex National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP. He's incredible. And he has been with all of us every step of the way since Trump was elected.
You all look so beautiful. Before I go into my speech, I want to share something with you. My daughter and I have been doing our genealogy research, and I've been able to trace my family back all the way to the American Revolution, where I had a grandfather who fought in the American Revolution. I had another grandfather that fought with the Confederates. I had another grandfather that fought with the Union. I had a grandfather that fought in World War I, World War II, the Korean War. My father fought in the Vietnam War, and I served in Iraq and in Afghanistan. The senator was talking about getting that top secret clearance. I know a little bit of something about that. I filled out at SF-86, and they had to go through 10 years of my background. People were calling me and saying, "What did you do?" The FBI came by and questioned me. And I also remember that day when my country gave me that top secret SCI clearance. And I knew that I had access to human intelligence. The weight of it and knowing that I had access to it was so important to me. So when I see Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump get something that I know my friends who gave up their clearance.
No, it's on. Take it back.
Because of somebody that they love. That they wanted to marry somebody that was from Canada. Or that they wanted to marry somebody from Mexico.
Yeah.
Or that they wanted to marry somebody from Spain. But our country said you can't have a clearance because of who you want to love. And when an adjudicator who's had this responsibility for 18 years comes out as a whistleblower to tell us not one person, not two people, but 25 people have been granted access to our nation's greatest secrets, I say shame.
Try the microphone again.
51 years ago, Dr. King gave his last speech. He talked about a lot. He had a lot of things that was on his mind. And subject after subject, Dr. King made something simple, made a great point to us, that it's important for all Americans to be on the right side of right. The special counsel's report belongs to the American people. Make it public. So the most rational question that you want to ask yourself is, why did the Russians want to interfere in the United States election? They didn't act like this in 2008. They didn't act like that in 2012. Why did they act like this in 2016?
Because they had their boy.
Some people called it the Obama coalition. But I'm going to call it a united labor force. Because ever since Bacon's rebellion, the first rebellion in our country, the rich has been dividing the poor. The Russian economy is 1/10 of the size of the American economy. Russia's economy is valued at $1.3 trillion. The American economy is valued at $18.3 trillion. So why did the Russians want to invest in Donald Trump? Because Trump began his campaign questioning the birth and the citizenship of President Obama, the man who led with our allies and they crushed the Russian ruble. Why did the Russians want to invest in Trump? Because on October 24th of 2012, just a few days before the 2012 election, Donald Trump said he would give any charity $5 million if President Obama released his passport application and his college records. You see, the Russians was following that same old trick that we've been seeing ever since them past days in the colonial times. Peel on the scab of those racial wounds. The Senate released a report to tell all of us how the Russians were interacting The Russians created 2 or 3 pages that were dedicated to either an ethnic group or a racial group. But then they created 30 Facebook pages that targeted African American people that reached more than 126 million people. They created an Instagram or several Instagram accounts, and their biggest account had 300,000 followers behind that Instagram account. They had a Twitter account that reached over 107 million people. The Russians were operating an information warfare attack on our country. When I worked at the intelligence agency, where I spent my last 10 years advising our nation's generals, we had a hallway that was dedicated to propaganda. You had Russian propaganda. You had German propaganda. We had Chinese propaganda. We had it all down in that hallway. And I used to walk down that hallway for 10 years, always with a constant reminder of what it is that we were truly fighting for. In that Senate report, it came right home to North Carolina. In that report, out of all the HBCUs in America, 2 of them were mentioned in that Senate report. And those 2 HBCUs exist right here in North Carolina, in the city of Raleigh. St. Augustine and Shaw University made that report. This hit home. They tried to peel that scab of racial wounds in America. But just like my family and I are learning, we really all one.
That's right. That's right.
You see, we getting past that. That Obama coalition scared the mess out of a whole lot of people on this planet. Because from what I understand, 57% of those people were moderates and conservatives. From what I understand, more than 50% of white Americans voted for President Obama. That terrifies rich people.
That's right. That's right.
One of the things my father taught me, he said, always look behind the face of the clock to see what moved the hand. What motivated the Russians? The Russians invested in who? The NRA. They're invested in Republicans for one reason. Because of racial issues, racial tensions, and racial conflicts. And to substantiate that, the Russians created 12 websites. 12 websites to highlight racial conflict in the United States of America. They published over 1,000 videos showing police brutality in the United States of America. This is real, y'all. But I got a message for the Russians.
Tell it. They're listening.
Somewhere I read, we the people.
We the people.
Not I the president. Somewhere I read, we the people.
We the people.
Not I the U.S. Senate. Somewhere I read, we the people.
We the people.
Not the Attorney General.
Not the Attorney General.
So we got a constitution, y'all. And in that Constitution, we got a separation of powers. And the separation of powers is on the right side of right. The freedom of assembly is on the right side of right. The freedom of the press is the right side of right. The right to vote is on the right side of right. So brothers and sisters, as we stand here today in solidarity with people all over the country, connecting shoulder to shoulder and arm, standing up for what we believe, just like those natives did, and those indentured servants did, and those that were enslaved did. In Bacon's Rebellion, they gave the Virginia colony hell for a year. I'm looking at my watch. I ain't got it on, but we got a year and some change. Make that report public. Because the American people need to know. We need to know who was compromised by the Russians. The American people need to know if the President of the United States obstructed justice. Make it public. Make it public. Make it public. And I'm going to close out with this. It took Mueller 22 months to produce that report. And he couldn't decide obstruction of justice after 22 months. How the hell is Barr gonna tell us it's no obstruction of justice in 2 days? We was born that night, but we wasn't born last night. We gotta make it public. Make it public. Make it public. Make it public. Last thing I'll say is this. When I was in Iraq, one of my best troops was starting to feel a little conflicted. And I recognized that he was a religious young man. So I grabbed him and put him underneath my wings. And I said, hey, for the rest of the time that we here in Iraq, each day I'm going to read the book of Romans with you so that we can learn together. 7 years later, after that young man came home safe, survived Hurricane Katrina with his wife and 2 brand new born babies. I was at my church and we were having a gospel festival. And I hadn't seen this young man in 7 years. And all of a sudden, he's walking in with his church as the leader of the choir. We saw each other and we just started hugging and embracing each other and crying. People didn't know what to think. But that's what we do in America. We care about each other. We look after each other. And that's what this report is about. We can't protect our country. We can't defend our country. We can't make it a more perfect union without that report being public. Make it 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 public now. Make it public now. Not tomorrow, but right. Let's make it public.
So where's the hope, and where's the truth, and where's the power in this country? Veterans. Who's fighting for us? The NAACP. So when we don't quite know what to do, think about supporting veterans and the NAACP. Thank you so much. Because I'll tell you why. If we walk around the Capitol and yell really loud, people will see us on 4 different blocks. Then we're going to come back. But Scarlett is our lead chanter on Tuesdays. And Lady Liberty made her a handmaiden outfit, and I asked her to wear it because it just tickles me to death when she's chanting and leading our chanting. And somehow seeing Lady Liberty every week just cheers me right up every week. So Scarlett's going to lead the chant, and Dewey's going to lead us.
I've got a new chant.
Okay, let Dewey talk first, and then I'm going to give that to you.
Okay, just some guidelines. We're going to try to get you loosened up.
Thank you so much.
Not that Gerald didn't loosen you up, but you're going to be part of the program on the marching, and when you get back, I think Scarlett's going to open the comments to the public. Last time that was a real treat. Karen.
Okay.
Yes. We've got some seasoned chanters, and our permit allows us to do this on the sidewalk.
All right.
Sidewalk here. And there's one or more sidewalks going around the Capitol. You can make the square, or you can walk around close to the Capitol and come back here. And the people that are
all right. So while they're doing their logistics, I'll come talk for a second here. A lot of the activities get a permit just for the sidewalk because it's a lot cheaper. If they're going to tie up a street, they need a lot more police to help monitor stuff, and it gets a lot more expensive.
William Barr. Heck no, Trump is not above the law.
That's what they're going to be chanting as they head on off. The fellow mentioned that there would be comments when they came back. That didn't happen. That they'll walk out there. And I didn't get out there on the street, but we saw a little bit of it from that Twitter post. And I just stuck around here. My camera was on tripod, so it wasn't going to be easy to go running to follow them. But we'll see them. We'll see them march off, and we'll see them come back. And we'll do a little more singing and chanting and stuff. But no public comments. Okay, so there they go. They're going to go... The Bicentennial Mall is just north of the Capitol. So in a moment, we'll see the Capitol building down there at the end. I can't see it very well there, but that's the building at the far end of the mall. They'll go down there, walk around it once, and come back. Again, I'm playing almost everything. I won't wait the whole time for them to come back because there's nothing going on. But I wanted to give you a feel for what it's like to actually be there if you've never been at one of these rallies. Some of them get thousands of people. The Women's March got a few thousand people. The HKNJ got a few thousand people. The Teachers March got tens of thousands last year. So it can be it can be fun. Be part of something like that. Here they come back. Get a better shot of the Capitol. I moved the camera a little bit so you get a better shot of what the Capitol looks like from down here at the end once I zoom back. almost feel like I'm doing commentary at the Christmas parade. There are a regular group of people that you can count on being at just about every one of these rallies. And then this brought out a few more. But Tuesdays with Tillis, it's a few dozen most of the time. I haven't been to very many. I've been to maybe 2 or 3. I'm told that depending on the activity and the current political action going on, they can have hundreds and sometimes thousands. See the Capitol down there now. Are you still with us? Still watching? Impressed with you. Congratulations. The question is, does this get tedious or does this just, is it energizing? At this point, I'm going to say tedious, but maybe it makes you excited. So in a minute or so, they'll kind of get in a circle. Wasn't where I was expecting them to go. I thought they'd be back up on the stage, so it takes me a moment to regroup with the camera and get over there. That fellow you saw there with the camera, he's not with one of the TV stations. No coverage at all from any of the TV stations doing news or Spectrum News. Didn't see a story in the News and Observer. So I guess it takes a little bit bigger an effort than this to bring out some of the big-time media. Slowly getting it figured out that this is where they're going to be, and I'll need to move if I'm going to see what's going on. So I'll do that.
What is important to you about this kind of gathering? Yeah. What's important to you? Unity! Community! Democracy!
We the people!
We the people! What else?
Truth!
Transparent! The whole truth! Hope! Doesn't it mean like hope? Yes! What else? Support! Being heard! Yes! We are finding our voices together! What else? Support! Support! What else? We're not under the bed! We're not under the bed! We're not throwing the remote control at the television! Yes! Yes, what else?
We got to hear the
therapy! Good therapy!
We got to hear the future senator of North Carolina!
I just learned that maybe Senator Smith will be on Rachel Maddow sometime. And that's a really good reason to subscribe to the Tuesdays with Tillis newsletter. Yeah. We want to all be watching, so if you let us know when you're going to be on, we are all going to tune in.
This lady writes amazing newsletters.
triangle. Please never think that their voices are drowning out our voices. It's just that there's so many of us doing so many things. So it's really so wonderful to be together like this, and we're going to have a closing song with Lady Liberty, the Handmaiden, the Grim Reaper. Where's the Grim Reaper? Walter. So, we have a lot of fun on Tuesday. And Rhonda and Mike are going to lead us in a closing song.
For those of you that
Jonathan.
For those of you that don't know, there's a party like this every Tuesday at 11:30 at the Federal Building in front of Senator Tiller's office. Every Tuesday, 115 weeks.
And Gerald, you're a church person. You know this song. This Little Light of Mine.
You don't like our
We'll do it anyway.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Okay, so just like the big time TV shows and radio programs and stuff, we'll let the music play us out. It's going to take a while, too. So we have been giving you the entire rally for the Release the Report rally in Raleigh, a version of which was seen in Washington, D.C. and a couple of hundred, maybe 300 some more towns around America. This was our version. It takes this kind of activity to catch enough attention to maybe make a difference. Will William Barr ever watch this? I don't know. But sooner or later the word gets a little bit higher up in Washington and they start paying attention. So. It's cumulative. The effect is something that adds up over time. In the media and in people like these that show up and people like you that are watching. Add one rally after another, news report after another, and sooner or later, you get the message. Okay, so that will be it. I'll let them keep singing and playing. That'll be it for this episode of the Triangle Talk Show. Let people know that they can join in this rally by tuning into this episode. And if you have just discovered this because somehow this got publicized, we do the Triangle Talk Show about once a week, not on a regular schedule. And usually it's a... Usually it is that, a talk show. Sometimes get some guests. Sometimes it's just me.
We believe that truth will win. We believe that truth will win. We believe that truth will win.
It's fun.
What's your name, ma'am?
I believe we're done. I'm Gary Pierce. I'm the Antique Activist. Episode 56, Triangle Talk Show, April 5th, 2019. The event was yesterday, April 4th. Released the report in Raleigh. Over and out.